But for me, ganito yun eh. Like, yung ginawa ng SEC, feeling ko parang merong nag-udyok sa kanila to do this. May local exchange kaya na nagsabi sa kanila, binulungan sila na, uy, gawin mo nga to para to help my business. Parang ganon. That's what I think could have happened. Now, again, this is just a conspiracy theory. I'm not saying it happened. I'm just saying that's what it feels like. Because I remember, before it was InfraWatch, yung nagsulat to the SEC na nagsasabi na itong mga crypto note the first banned Binance. Naalala ko yun eh. And for me, it was like, wow, sinong nasa likod na itong InfraWatch na to? Okay. Which is now a lawmaker. He's now a lawmaker.
Yeah.
But for me, that was weird that parang an organization suddenly decides to
parang group,
lalabanan natin to. Bakit kaya? Sinong nasa likod nyo?
Tapos infrastructure pa, di ba? Yung focus nila.
Exactly.
That is exactly why Terry Ridon now is the chair of public accounts.
Yun.
He was able to position himself perfectly.
Kaya talagang sino yung nasa likod? So that's why I can't help but wonder kung meron talagang more nefarious motives behind this beyond protecting the consumers. Come on.
Okay. So that rumor has been circulating for several months now. I hope those rumors are not true. Because if that is true, I think it's going to be difficult for the SEC to defend this policy. So I'm really hoping that this policy gets rolled back. Either the SEC doing it on its own initiative through the leadership of Chairman Francis Edlim.
Yes.
Yun pa nga medyo I find it a bit baffling. The last weekend before the term of Chairman Emil ended, no? They had to rush this pa. So it's kind of like a midnight issuance of some sort. Parang I feel lang it would have been more ethical for the commission to give way. So hindi pala yung ngayong SEC commissioner SEC chairman ang gumawa nito. Of course the commission decides as a collective.
Yes.
Of course, but the chair sets the agenda. I just think it would have been more courteous and polite on the part of Chairman Francis Edlim to be given the opportunity to have a feedback on this important regulatory initiative.
So in that case also, if that's the case, SEC Chairman Lim can also rescind this ruling.
Once again, they decide as a collective.
Yes, but can
the chair sets the agenda. So if somehow Chairman Francis Edlim feels that this needs to be revisited, especially if there's potential threat of course, judicial recourses also. Kasi hindi naman porke gobyerno sila, palagi naman silang magagawa nilang yung gusto nilang gawin. Hindi rin naman lahat dahil gobyerno sila, if somebody sues them in court, panalo sila. As a matter of fact, marami na rin cases na natatalo yung SEC precisely because of regulatory overreach. One recent example nga niyan is, was it in 2022 or 2023 when the SEC along with the Bureau of Internal Revenue and the Department of Finance was sued by the Philippine Stock Exchange. At saka matagal yung kaso na yun, but eventually parang as early as 2014 yata or 2013, but eventually decided mga 2022, 2023. Feel free to fact check na lang.
Okay.
But in that case, no, the SEC required the Philippine Stock Exchange to disclose some personal information of mga stockholders, mga traders for tax enforcement purposes. And according to that case decided by the Supreme Court, the SEC is not a tax regulator. Why are they requiring Philippine Stock Exchange and the affected, para may mga brokers pa yata na affected doon, but the users to disclose some information even if the purpose is for tax enforcement. So this is not really unique. Regulatory overreaches happen quite often, as a matter of fact, because some administrative agencies forget the extent, the parameters of their statutory remit or perimeter. It's very important, though, for the affected stakeholders to assert their rights. No?
Okay.
And we have several channels how to accomplish that, either through judicial channels, file the appropriate case or relief in court, or the other options na nabanggit na natin kanina, yung congressional intervention, raise na natin yung issue
Or-
sa ating mga lawmakers.
But why not start with reaching out to the SEC? Why not start with sending them a letter? Would that...
Possible. But I don't know how effective that will be, because from my end personally, when the SEC issued draft rules on this, I submitted a comment. As a matter of fact, I've been submitting comment.
Okay, to the SEC.
Tong saga na to, which eventually culminated in the issuance of the CASP rules, June.
Okay.
Yeah, almost 2 months ago. This saga started as early as 2018 when they issued their draft rules on initial coin offering.
Okay.
Personally, I have been submitting comments on this point. And in all those comments, I've been very consistent in my position, that not all crypto assets constitute security. And it is only to the extent that crypto assets are securities and crypto asset intermediaries engage in securities-related transactions that they should be regulated by the SEC. And my last, even in their latest draft circular, draft rules, which eventually became the CASP rules, I've highlighted this in my comment, but I'm not sure if they heard that.
You mean to say you are actually submitting comments to them?
Yes. It's a public exercise anyway. Everybody can.
Well,
can
how do
submit.
you do that? I'm just curious. How do you, email? Ganun ba yun?
Yes.
And
Yes.
no reply, nothing, you don't know?
Which is fine as long as I just don't know, because we don't have visibility. Ito nga medyo lang din. I think this needs to be looked into kasi we know public consultation is necessary
Yes.
for purposes of affording the public fair notice, which is an important component or aspect of due process, no? Na basically may lalabas na bagong rules, may informal na magbigyan ng fair notice sa public, and so that they can participate. And somehow kasi let's not forget that we are a democracy.
Yes.
Okay? This unelected bureaucrats only enforce the law. And they can write rules for purposes of implementing the law, but they cannot invent the law. So it's very important to somehow moderate the tendency of administrative agencies to overregulate, to legislate, basically to engage in overreach, to engage in overreach. That there's this democratic process of public consultation. What we know is there's no public hearing except if ang co-consider nila na public consultation. But I want to understand, because I've asked a couple of my friends who've also submitted comments
Okay.
in this draft rules. But I just recently found out yung feedback nila na wala naman daw anything doon sa mga comments nila na na-consider.
Wow. Kumbaga, totally ignored.
Okay. I'm a bit embarrassed to admit this, that none of my comments were considered. I'm not saying I'm special or anything, but I'm just saying, I'm embarrassed na none of my comments were taken into account.
Yes, considering the fact that number one, you're in crypto, you're in fintech, you're an author of 2 books on crypto and the law. Sana naman they consulted, yun lang.
Which they did publicly. Okay, which they did. Actually, they had another exercise in, if I remember correctly, December 2023, when they have a term for this, but basically they call it like a closed consultation of like parang technical.
Okay.
And I was fortunate to be consulted on that as well. So I wrote a comment on that. And main point I did, at saka maganda nga yung draft rules na yun kasi that draft rules is called Digital Asset Securities Service Providers. Clearly setting the rule na it's only digital asset securities service providers that are subject to those rules. Pero yung CASP, natanggal na yung securities, they're regulating crypto asset service regardless of whether they're engaged in securities transaction broadly under the CASP rules. In the draft rules, I emphasize the point that hindi naman lahat ng CASPs are engaged in securities-related transactions at hindi naman lahat ng crypto assets security. So the SEC would have to limit or modify the scope of those rules. The final output obviously did not consider that recommendation, which is fine. Pero ito nga napansin kong pattern. I didn't even volunteer to ask a friend about this, but my friend just said they also submitted a comment. Wala namang na-consider doon sa comment na to.
So,
and I want to understand now kung ilan ba sa mga nag-comment at kung meron ba sa comment nila na na-consider doon sa ano. Kasi otherwise, baka itong public consultation na to is just a farce. Because what we know is wala namang public hearing.
It's window dressing.
Yeah.
When I'm hearing you, that's what it sounds like.
Which would be a violation of the fair notice requirement and therefore a due process issue.
Yun, I think they did it just to circumvent that, to make it look like, oh, well, we had a hearing, we had a consultation, at ito ang resulta nun. So what we have to do is look at the minutes. Is that what we look at? Para mapakita that, listen, this is all the stakeholders. They did not follow any of the advices or at least recommendations.
Ang possible na ano diyan na channel diyan is yung freedom of information then if maybe we can get more information or if again lawmakers can look into this issue. So just to clarify, I'm not insinuating anything.
Of course.
I'm just saying I know for a fact my comments because earlier you asked bakit before we explore these channels, judicial remedies, congressional intervention, why can't we talk to the SEC? This arose because of that question.
Okay.
And I've said na nag-request ang SEC ng ng comments from the public. And I did give my comment. Ang di ko lang alam, kasi alam ko na yung comment ko, hindi na-consider kung meron ba mga comments na na-consider.
Okay, got it. Okay, so moving forward now, I think because of our conversation, I'm going to parang I have a new mission in life Gagawin ko talaga to. I'm gonna look for who we can talk to in the legislative branch. Or maybe, reach out to the SEC muna.
Yeah.
Maybe have him sit down here. Maybe we'll do that. Kasi bago naman yung SEC chair, baka naman he's gonna be more open and he'll be like, oh my God, I didn't know this happened. At baka magawa ng paraan.
Ang napansin ko lang lately, kasi before, they used to have like a spokes for crypto. This was way back 2018. Si Commissioner Amatong, forgot his first name.
Okay.
All right. And then sometime in like 2019 around pandemic, si Commissioner Kelvin Lee. But those two commissioners have all obviously left the commission already. Their terms have expired. Pero recently, ang nagsasalita about crypto ay mga staff na lang nila.
Oh, wow.
I'm just wondering how, as a matter of policy, why parang we're not hearing from higher level officials of the SEC, lalo yung commission level, sa mga staff. Of course, with due respect, some of them are acquaintances. Pero yun lang napansin ko, isang observation. Parang wala tayong napapansin, somebody na commissioner na nagsasalita about this. Sa US, obviously, di ba? Hindi mo naman naririnig din yung mga staff na nagsasalita about this. Usually, siguro pinaka-low level na is a director. No? Pero usually, it's a commissioner who speaks about these issues. Pero ngayon sa SEC, I don't know because whether it's because they have created a dedicated fintech office and that's why the head of that fintech office yung parang spokes pagdating dito sa mga crypto related issues, maybe it's because of that. But want to understand with due respect to the SEC, I'm not insinuating anything.
Right. Okay.
Pero just also wondering why.
I like how careful you are when you speak. Being an attorney, I guess that's a habit na yan.
Tsaka just to keep it professional lang. Kasi with due respect, I keep on saying with due respect, but some of them kasi I know personally. I also need to make a stand, as an advocate myself. And to be honest, some of my clients also are in the receiving end of this, what I really see as an enforcement action na outside ng regulatory perimeter ng SEC. So, I also have to speak about this.
Okay. So, on a side note, recently din, may nakita akong post. Somebody from the Philippine Stock Exchange, one of the brokers, made a comment na hindi ko alam kung sinabi ba niya sa SEC yan about dapat i-ban na all crypto trading.
What's the context?
Para lang umayos daw.
Eagle Equities yata yun. Eagle Equities.
Eagle Equities said, dapat iba na ang crypto trading para lalong gumanda daw ang Philippine Stock Exchange trading. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's a very ignorant position. And that's not going to happen. So number one. Number two, what I'm worried about is that baka mamaya gawin to ng SEC, which they can't do.
They cannot.
But
They cannot.
seeing how they've already overreached, that's what I'm worried about. That's going to happen. What is behind this with that Eagle Securities making such that was a very reckless comment.
We don't really understand the context of that. Perhaps the best approach is really to ignore that kasi it's a very boomer mentality for them to say that. But and obviously, legally and constitutionally speaking, SEC can't do that. And even if Congress decides to do that, that will be subject to constitutional issues. Kahit pa makarating tayo. For example, Congress enacts a law banning crypto trading in the Philippines. That's constitutionally suspect. And as I've said, good thing hindi doon nagtatapos Congress writing a law because we have a constitution. This power of the government to regulate. Generally speaking, this power can only be exercised in a way so as to regulate, but not to prohibit an activity. In other words, you try to minimize the exercise of the power to the bare minimum of regulating it rather than prohibiting it, which is exactly the problem with the CASPI rules of sweepingly regulating crypto. Kasi I'm not denying the fact that the SEC can regulate some of these activities. I actually appreciate the fact that the SEC has issued these rules because finally it has made it clear that some of these activities should be regulated by the SEC, because the misconception for a long time is that when it comes to crypto asset related transaction, the regulator should be the BSP, which is wrong. Which is also wrong. Pansin mo naman sa US, SEC ang ang parang nagiging when it comes to crypto-related transactions, si SEC yung palagi nating tinatanong, US SEC. But dito, BSP, parang there's something really wrong there. Pero now the SEC is asserting that some of these transactions should be regulated by the SEC. And I'm fine with that. But the problem is, in keeping with that notion that being a democracy and considering that we also respect the rights of individuals, right, that any regulation when it comes to this activity should be kept at bare minimum. So first and foremost, SEC needs to clarify whether this is within their scope. And it is only those matters or activities within their scope that they should regulate, rather than require all exchanges or all crypto asset service providers to register with them, regardless of whether they're engaged in securities-related transaction.
Okay, so having said that naman, I remember na meron din lumabas na balita when it comes to Google Pay and Apple Pay. And they were saying that because they did not hold custody of customer funds, they're just a conduit, na they should not, they're free to be able to be used here in the Philippines. Was it the BSP that issued that advisory or that comment?
So we haven't seen the actual statement from the BSP because that seems to be some internal document. Okay, but it was, if I remember correctly, one deputy governor who said that. I just don't know. I'm sorry. Feel free to fact check this, but it might be Tangonan who commented on that. No, na basically they're just a technology provider, which is actually a correct position. And I commend the BSP for clarifying that. As a matter of fact, I've had similar advices from other clients who basically just integrate payment service provider, but are not the ones who are actually processing the payments. So this is a very important clarification that the BSP, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, has made in relation to certain technology providers that integrate payment services.
Yeah, because
yung financial regulation natin, they mainly regulate intermediaries. And if these are decentralized transactions, peer-to-peer transactions, basically we're the ones, like you and me, we're dealing with each other. Before we can't do this, because we need somebody to facilitate this transaction, an intermediary. But now there's a technology that could allow us to directly transact with each other. So, sinong i-regulate mo dun?
Right. Yeah,
so the same principle applies both to like BSP's financial regulation and SEC's financial regulation.
So when you're talking about the decentralized finance, right?
Yes.
Yeah, when you talk about Web3, yun na nga, sino nga ba i-regulate?
Oo.
Because in any of these platforms, it is completely decentralized.
Yes.
Meaning, like if I do any kind of a transaction on Aave, for example, I have full control of my
Yes.
assets, 100% control, and I engage with a contract with another entity who's ever's borrowing it, but I have full control. I can withdraw my funds anytime. Nobody has custody. So, in that sense, dapat hindi na kailangan ma-regulate yan ng...
Agree. And that should be the position we take, regardless of how aggressive. We have yet to see whether the SEC will be aggressive in enforcing the CASPI rules when it comes to decentralized protocols, decentralized exchanges. What we know for a fact is in the advisory, they don't make any distinction,
Yes.
but in terms of like those listed there are centralized exchanges. Okay, we know that. But I think this is an important point that we have to defend.
Yeah.
Na if it's decentralized, sufficiently decentralized as a basic principle and as a starting point, they are outside the regulatory perimeter of the SEC. And I know, of course, when we speak of decentralization and centralization, kasi those are not binary things. Diba? This is a, this is actually a, yeah, that's why we say it's sufficiently decentralized, because there are really some aspects of that na centralized, decentralized,
Yep.
no. So the SEC will have to make an analysis on whether something is sufficiently decentralized, na. And it is
okay.
only when a certain participant engages in decentralization theater, pretends to be
Right,
decentralized, or what we can also call DINO, DINO, or decentralized in name only. Where yes, I admit they can engage, they can subject those DINOs into enforcement action.
Yeah.
The same manner the SEC has done that in the US, or even the CFTC, the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, has
Right.
done that with some DINOs. No?
Okay.
But if something is sufficiently decentralized, I think dapat magdahan-dahan si SEC when it comes to enforcing yung kanyang crypto-focused, crypto-oriented na regulation.
Okay, sige, good. Now let's talk about something a little bit more positive naman, di ba? Recently nga, Congressman Migs Villafuerte actually filed a bill.
Camarines.
Camsur, yeah. Filed a bill for the government, the Philippine government, to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve.
SBR.
Now, what are the odds of that happening in the Philippines?
Very difficult to assess. Okay, but I think if Representative Mix has deep conviction to push for this, he needs the support of the industry and the community. Kasi it's gonna be difficult for him to really champion for this. If we agree with the idea, the details can just follow. This is just the draft bill pa lang to.
Yes.
Obviously, marami pang process.
Yes.
Yung several readings niyan, pupunta pa yan sa committee, and perhaps because this might be transmitted to the Congressional Committee on Banking and Finance, since the BSP was called out in this proposed bill as the implementer of the SBR, the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. So dadaan pa yun sa committee, tapos magkakaroon pa ng mga changes. Marami pa, second reading, third reading, tapos pupunta pa sa kabilang. Mahaba pang process. Okay, I think we have, and I've noted some feedback from the community, which is fine. It's part of their freedom of expression. But I think the more constructive approach here is to help Representative Migs. If he's really, he has deep conviction about this. Let's sort out the details together. As long as we are aligned with a common agenda, then let's help him. One positive thing I've heard is that it's not just him who's supportive of this, who will champion this. I've heard of that. Just
Do you
too
have a
early
name?
for me. I can't say because
Okay.
it's too early. But my confidence about him successfully pushing for this, subject of course to amendments and changes, the details, and with the support of the community, the industry, he he could
Wow.
achieve this.
Good.
Yeah, and there may be different approaches by which we can arrive at that strategic Bitcoin reserve. Because it can be through a law enacted by Congress. Could also be possible for him or those influential lawmakers be able to convince the BSP to just adopt Bitcoin and incorporate it as part of their reserve portfolio.
You can just do that?
My view is yes. Because if you'll read the amended BSP charter, there's a provision there on the international reserves of the BSP.
Okay.
And the composition of that.
Okay.
And there's a provision there that says that authorizes the BSP to hold, of course, obviously gold,
Okay.
foreign currency, and other assets as part of its international reserve. That's why I take the view, and I've written a paper about this. No, in 2020, no, December 2020, I wrote a paper, white paper, proposing this idea
Yes.
proposing the idea back then, COVID-19 pandemic. But my idea is because of back then, you might also remember US was like very aggressive in
Yes.
printing money, no, quantitative easing. My idea is for the BSP to somehow provide a systemic hedge, kasi we don't know what could be the consequences of that, to incorporate Bitcoin in its international reserve. No? So that, and in terms of legal feasibility, no, I wrote in that paper that actually the amended BSP charter authorizes the BSP if it wants to. No, so it's not really a legal question because the amended BSP charter already says that the BSP can consider other assets as part of its reserve. Funny, the BSP is even like buying some fine art. Kasama pa nga mga fine
They
arts.
do?
Oh, may mga fine arts pa sila.
Oh.
They have derivatives. They have special drawing rights. Ang dami nilang mga kinoconsider sa portfolio.
Okay.
So why not incorporate Bitcoin?
Yes.
Okay. And it's not really a legal question, as I've said, kasi there's this broad phrase there, other assets. It's just really a monetary policy question. No, whether we can convince the BSP to do that. So in relation to incorporating Bitcoin as part of the reserve asset, two possible approaches here. Okay, BSP understands. Ito nga yung tinatawag ni Saifedean Amos na reverse bank run. Kasi when central banks begin to realize that it is strategic and advantageous to incorporate Bitcoin as part of the reserve asset, there's going to be this run
Yes.
to incorporate. Biglang di ba, gradually then suddenly,
Yes.
according to Parker Lewis, no, na ngayon parang hesitant sila, but as soon as somebody starts this, then magsusunuran.
Yep.
That can really happen. So I'm hoping that our policy, central bankers realizes the merits of this strategy, and if they still refuse to do that, one possible approach is for the proposal of Congressman Miggs for a law to direct the BSP to incorporate Bitcoin as part of its reserve. Actually, marami pa talaga tayong details na pag-uusapan when it comes to that, because you'll notice then the SBR proposal of Congressman Miggs was heavily patterned from the SBR proposal in the US of Senator Loomis.
Loomis, yes.
Senator Loomis.
Cynthia Loomis.
But one interesting difference is in the SBR proposal in the US, it's actually the Department of Treasury, not the Federal Reserve, who would basically administer the SBR.
Right,
so
right,
perhaps it's also, as a policy question, also might be an important factor to consider, whether it should be the BSP or rather the Bureau of Treasury or the Department of Finance who should manage this Bitcoin reserve.
Wow. Okay. So, I realize ang dami natin na pag-usapan and we're out of time. But thank you for your wisdom, your knowledge with regards to the law and about crypto. And if you guys want to check out this book, it's going to be available in Rex Bookstores.
Bookstore,
Okay. And is it available online?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
I
Okay.
think it's available also on Shopee and Lazada. Yeah.
Oh, ayun.
Merong store yung Rex Bookstore.
Okay, and then if you guys have any questions or if you agree or disagree with the topics we talked about with the SEC, with the strategic Bitcoin reserve, sulat lang nyo lahat yan dito sa comment section sa ibaba. And if you like content like this, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel, Crypto for Tan. And this is Chris Tan, your host. On behalf of Attorney Rafael Padilla, thanks so much. We'll see you guys on the next
Thank you.
episode.
Thank you.